Before we get underway with predictions, I'd like to share a secret with you. So come a little bit closer. You're going to have to come closer than that because I do not know how to edit it, so I appear larger and therefore nearer to you. Are you sitting comfortably? Brilliant. I think the Championship is the best league. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the Premier League. I enjoy watching Premier League football. I enjoy discussing the Premier League. However, look at it in comparison to the Championship. Just 8 games to go in the Championship, and look what's up for grabs compared to the top division. Relegation battle, supposedly. There's no battle, there's just relegation. The 3 teams that went up are going straight back down again without even laying a glove on, let's face it, some pretty poor performing Premier League sides this season, in no danger of being relegated. Title race, there's been no race for months. It's been done for quite some time now. The only thing up for grabs in the Premier League are those European spots. But compare it to the Championship. We've got the relegation battle. Anyone can go to, I say anyone. There's a lot of teams could get relegated, including some big ones, such as Stoke City. They could go down and play League One football next season. Then at the top of the table, we don't know who's going to win it. We don't know who's finishing second. We don't even know who's going to qualify for the playoffs, let alone go on and win it at Wembley. However, we're going to try and predict it. We're going to try and guess it in this video. But if you're new to the Tartan YouTube channel, please do subscribe and also drop a like on the video as well. Both things are completely free. Takes about 2 seconds. Helps out the video, helps out the channel. Makes me pretty happy. And it might even encourage me to make more content. But don't let that be a reason to put you off from clicking the thumbs up. Shall we start by taking a look at the top half? Well, the top 10 of the Championship? I think so. Makes sense, doesn't it? Right, here we go. Top 10, Watford in 10th. Now, barring a remarkable run of form, and it would have to be remarkable, I just can't see Watford getting into the playoffs. They're 5 points behind West Bromwich Albion, also a significantly worse goal difference, not just with West Brom, but even with Bristol City, Middlesbrough and Coventry as well. So they'd have to go on the form of their life to get in there, and I can't see them doing it. However, I do think they'll have a say in how that top 6 looks come the end of the season. They've got some important fixtures and they're going to be having a say. Unlike Blackburn Rovers, it's not that they don't have the fixtures. They've just not got the form about them whatsoever. They are in horrific form. They have been since before Christmas time now. I can't see them doing anything between now and the end of the season. I don't even think they'll be sitting in 9th come May. I think they'll only be going in one direction, and that's towards mid-table in the Championship. So we're going to discuss the top 8 of the Championship in today's video, and I'll be guessing as we go along, but I'd like you guys to get involved as well. So in the comments of this video, put who you think will go up 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and also, if you wish, let me know who you think will go on to win the playoffs based on your predictions. Right then, I'm going to start with 8th place and missing out on the playoffs. I'm going to keep Middlesbrough exactly where they are. Very inconsistent and possibly one of my most disappointing teams this season. I had high hopes for Michael Carrick's side. I rated him last season. I rated the way Borough played football last season as well. And I thought with a strong summer transfer window, they could go on and at least challenge for the playoffs and being with a shout of being promoted to the Premier League. But the reality is they've never been anywhere close to looking like they'll finish in the top 6 of the Championship this season. Never mind going on to do the business and get through Wembley and get to the Premier League. It's been a very disappointing campaign, and one that's the highlight, and it's not for good reasons as such. It's the biggest talking point. There was a lot of rumours around Carrick potentially losing his job, and when you look at the form they were in, the football they've played, the squad available, the results, and how it's going to look at the end of the season, you can understand why. And he salvaged it a little bit, but I've got an outside chance. They're not completely out of it, just 3 points behind West Brom with 8 games to go. However, for them to get into the playoff zone and stay in the playoff zone, they've got to overcome that inconsistency. And I just can't see them doing it. They've had 38 games so far this season. They've not been able to string together a good bit of form. November, I think it was, they weren't too bad. I just don't see it. So I'm going to keep Middlesbrough in 8th place. In 7th, however, the side missing out on the playoffs, I'm going to go for West Brom. Now, when you look at it there, the form table would suggest they're looking all right, actually. No defeats in that last 5 games, but just too many draws. 18 draws, only won 13 games. They've won less games than Blackburn and Watford this season. And I think it's going to end up costing them. I just can't see them sort of turning form around, turning their season-long patterns round enough to turn those draws into wins. Now, the good news for West Brom is the top goal scorer, Josh Maja, will likely be back and should have a big say, and that could be enough to get them in there. But I just think there are currently better sides in the Championship, in literally above and below them, and that might just be enough to knock West Brom out of that playoff zone. Plus, having a look at their fixtures, they've got 5 real tough fixtures coming up immediately. They've got Norwich, Sunderland, Bristol City, Watford, Coventry. That is a tough gig for West Brom, and they would have to pick up quite a lot of points in there to stay in that playoff zone, and I just can't see it. So I've got them sitting in 7th place. However, 6th place, I've actually gone for Coventry City. Obviously, they're currently 5th, 2 points ahead of West Brom in Bristol City, and I think they'll stay in the playoff zone, Coventry. Frank Lampard has done a remarkable job, and for some reason, I'm not against it. I'm not against him. As a player, did not like him whatsoever. Thoroughly enjoyed jeering him every time he was in a Chelsea strip. When he started out as a manager, when he was at Derby, I quite enjoyed watching his Derby County team play football, but he had big talent for that division. Went up to Chelsea. I think he did a better job than he was given credit for, given how many youth players he was bringing through, and there was a transfer embargo. Went to Everton, did a job. I think he looks like he's got what it takes to go on and become a good manager, and his apprenticeship was maybe just a bit top division too soon. Gone to Coventry, and I think it was important he got his next job right. He went in there and he spoke about, he didn't rule out qualifying in the playoffs, but he certainly made sure that the priority was to avoid relegation after a horrendous season so far. And he's got them in there. Remarkable form. 10 wins, 12 games. Incredible. So they've got that momentum. The most informed team in the Championship, really. Taking a look at their fixtures, though, they've got 2 really tough games coming up. Sheffield United and Burnley. I'm really looking forward to that game tomorrow night against Sheffield United. They've got West Brom coming up, which I think they'll win. And I don't think they'll lose both games against Sheffield United and Burnley. They might only get 1 draw out of them, but the repercussions for the side that they take a point off are far greater than it would be for Coventry only getting 1 point out of 6 against them. I think they'll do fine in order to stay in that top 6 and get to the playoffs. Frank Lampard has done a great job, and I think he's going to continue doing a great job. Whether or not they go up, I'm not too sure. But gives them that platform going into the summer ahead of next season. Got a bit of a small squad. You do worry if a couple of injuries, and it could derail Coventry's playoff push. But I think they're going to manage it. Let's go back to the league table then, and in 5th place, I'm putting Bristol City. Now, having a look at their form as well, they are, bar Coventry, the most informed team in the Championship, really. And I don't think they're quite getting the plaudits they deserve. I don't think Lee Manning's getting the plaudits he deserves either. The side that I'd maybe describe as greater than the sum of their parts. But when you have a look at their 4 home fixtures, I've got them here. Preston, Sunderland, West Brom and Watford. Tough games, but they're going to need to beat West Brom. They're going to need to beat Sunderland. And even though their form at Robbins Park's been okay, they've got the same amount of wins at home as Burnley do, who are unbeaten at home this season. I've just got this feeling that Bristol City could just turn it on at the end of the season. And it would be a great story as well, I think, to see Bristol City in the playoffs. And I've sort of found myself rooting for them. Is it because of the West Ham player on loan there? Is it because Manning has connections and used to be at West Ham as well? So does Frank Lampard, but I ain't rooting for Coventry too much. I'm not sure. But I don't know, I just think sometimes football needs a little romance. And I think Bristol City getting into the playoffs would be that. And I think they're going to manage it as well. That leaves the top four. Sunderland, unsurprisingly, I'm going to leave in fourth. I feel like it's quite nailed on that they're not going to catch Burnley and they're not going to drop down too many places. They are a bit sketchy, though. They were much closer to those top three a couple of months ago than they are now. They've fallen away a little bit from those top three, and that'd be disappointing. But they need to really make sure that they start getting a bit of consistency, momentum back ahead of that playoffs. Because out of everybody we've discussed, they're the only ones I'm confident will be in the playoffs. Obviously, one of the top three will be, but which one? I'm more confident Sunderland will be in it than one of those three, because they might also go up automatically. So Sunderland, I think, at this point are the only club that will definitely be in the playoffs. The rest is up for grabs. But form-wise, I would argue they're the side least prepared for the playoffs at the moment. They need to just get some wins behind them, get form back into certain individuals. Otherwise, it could be a pretty disappointing end to what had been a pretty good campaign so far for Sunderland. Now, that leaves the top three. Which one's going in the playoffs? Which one's going up second place? And who's going to win the league? And let's take a look at Burnley's fixtures. First of all, tough one with Bristol City at the weekend. Then away to Coventry City. Another tough game there. You'd imagine they'll be okay against Derby County. However, they're a club that's not doing too bad recently now with the change of manager. Norwich could be a bit of a tricky one on paper as well. Watford looks tricky enough. Sheffield United, a very difficult game, and that should be a big one. QPR, you'd imagine they'll be okay with in Millwall. Burnley are just incredible defensively. Offensively, they've improved a little bit over the last few weeks. I feel like for a part of the season, Parker perhaps wasn't getting the best out of his attacking players, but when you're that good defensively, it's perhaps not the end of the world. That game against Sheffield United will be huge. I'm already really looking forward to it. It might come to that point where maybe the table's already decided itself. Maybe one of the threes just pulled away a little bit at the top, or one of the threes just dropped off a bit in third. We'll have to wait and see. But bear in mind, when you look at the three clubs, last 8 games or something, they've all got a similar points tally. Leeds was a little bit less than the other two, only 1 point less, I think, but they're picking up the same amount of points roughly on average. There's only 2 points behind first and third as it is, 2 at the top, Leeds and Sheffield United having the same amount of points. There's not much there. So you'd imagine that game is going to be quite significant. Burnley, I'm going to put in third, and huge favourites to go on and win the playoffs. I think if you are Sunderland or Coventry, whoever you are that's going to be in the playoffs, it's not the top three. I imagine Burnley is the team you don't want. I wouldn't be surprised if Coventry and Sunderland fans were rooting for Burnley to go up, because Leeds, if they're in there, they've obviously had a bit of a wobble. If Sheffield United are in there, they've had a little bit of a wobble as well. But I think those two possibly feel more beatable in a playoff scenario, whereas Burnley, with that defence, bloody hard to beat, but I think they'll go on to become third. That fixtures look tricky, I think. Second, I'm going to leave Sheffield United. Let's take a look at their fixtures. They've also got Coventry City tomorrow night, Friday night. And then they've got a nice little run with Oxford United, Millwall, Plymouth, Cardiff, teams down the bottom. Then they've got that game against Burnley before they take on Stoke, who you would imagine should be safe by that point, and Blackburn as well, who'll be comfortable mid-table. I think Sheffield United have got relatively kind fixtures, bar 2 or 3 of them in there. They've obviously picked up more points this season. They've got that 2-point deduction, but on the field, they picked up 2 points more than Leeds United. And we speak about romance. They've got it with Chris Wilder. That is a good story. That's a nice story. It's fun. Football should be fun. I think Sheffield United are coming back to the Premier League, and I think they'll finish second, and that leaves Leeds United in top. Now, there's a lot being made of Leeds. Are they going to have a wobble, dropping points against QPR, losing away to Portsmouth? It's not the form you want going into that international fixtures. Obviously, Willie Gnonto's injured as well, could be out for 3-4 weeks. But looking at the fixtures, Swansea City this weekend, when I feel like the other two have got tricky fixtures, I think Leeds should be okay. Then away to Luton, again, not a great season. Borough, I've spoken about, I feel like they're not that good at the minute. Preston, Oxford, and then they've got Stoke, Bristol City and Plymouth. I think they'll be all right. I think Leeds will pick up wins in the majority of their games, and they can't afford to drop points. But Leeds' biggest fixture will be that one between Sheffield United and Burnley. That's the huge one for Leeds, because someone's dropping points. Possibly, ideally for them, it finishes a draw and both teams drop 2 points. But I think Leeds will do it. I think there's a lot being made of Leeds because of their collapse last year, and they can have that sort of, it feels a bit Spursy to some extent, doesn't it? That bottle about them. You know, the goalkeeper's good for an error at some point, and you almost feel like Leeds' biggest weakness is Leeds United. But I think they'll do it. I think they'll go on to win the championship. That's how I feel. Anyway, that's my predictions. Leeds to win it, Sheffield United finish second, Burnley to finish third, Sunderland in fourth, Bristol City perhaps a surprise package sitting in fifth. Then in sixth place we've got Frank Lampard's Coventry City. I think West Brom will just miss out narrowly, and Middlesbrough in eighth, although I don't think they're going to put in too much of a contest for the playoffs. Let me know in the comments below. Give us your predictions, how you see, I say the top eight, the top six is what I care about really, but the top eight, how you see that shaping up between now and the end of the season. 8 games to go. I can't wait. There's a lot to play for. I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, you know the score. If you've enjoyed this video, drop a like on it. Subscribe to the Tartan YouTube channel. I'll catch you in a bit.